rizz-hit, and I am your host and founder of Celestic Intelligence Podcast. And today we are doing a dip into the digital age series. It is a long form investigation that we do live online to really look at what is going on between the analog and the digital integration of our lives and some of the things that have been changing because of that. I know that I've been a little bit away from doing any live streams. My roommate is moving out, so that's a big, huge life change. And so, moving things around, rearranging the house, and kind of recentering is the name of the game. So I've been a little preoccupied, but I will be coming on a little bit more regularly now that he's mostly out of the house. Now, when I was watching I was listening to my Blood and Bones podcast that I did, which wasn't necessarily a part of any of the series that I'm doing, so not a part of my podcast, which I will be doing on Tuesday at 5:30 Pacific time. But and it's not a part of the digital age, but it does have a little bit to do with a little bit of both of what I'm doing. So there is this frame that is in there. However, one of the things that I wanted to chat about in the digital age, I know I've covered a lot of topics and there's still a lot more to cover, especially after my book, The $8 Truth, exposing a $380 billion lie, is released. Once that's released and everything is good and done with that, I'll get started back into, I've already started, but I'll get restarted back into the digital age book that I'm writing, which is definitely going to be different than a lot of what people are talking about. I also listened to Are You a Wax Sculpture? Is my Sue Tart Shenanigans. Am I frozen? So, Ella Angel, hello. So, I was listening to my digital age series on transhumanism. One, because I really wanted to dive deeply into. Oh, it is? That's weird. Mine is saying that it's going okay. And, as I'm sitting there and thinking, what really is going on here, looking at the architecture of everything, looking at how we're integrating into everything, I will be just jumping right back into that and realigning with the book that I was writing on the digital age and really I really see these two different responses. It's either given to transhumanism because you're obsolete and weak as a human, or it is just get rid of all of everything and go live off the land and hide in the mountains. And, those are both choices and options, but I think that we can integrate and go into the next phase of the ages with a really highly and distinctive space in it as humans. We don't have to merge with the technology, but we can learn to use it as a tool. I'm doing well, thank you. All right. Well, let's look at the next piece here. I wanted to talk today about the idea of when you die, after you die, there's still this imprint of you out on the internet, out in the digital sphere, especially since we are so closely related and identify with the digital avatars that we create. So it's not just I have my Facebook profile. Maybe you have a 4chan, or maybe you're Ella angel and you're going in and trolling just random streams as that avatar. So you have these different avatars that are online, and then you also have the identity that you have as uh, a spouse, a sibling, a mother or father. You know, any of these things, you can have those identities in your own life as well. So when we think about personhood, it's not just in the physical 3D realm. We're thinking about personhood in the digital realm as well. And then, even more so, there's AI bots that take your likeness, take your voice, your face, and can create these really long videos where you're actually, it looks like you, but it's just a digital AI replica of you doing whatever it is. Schoolie, welcome. Hello. I don't think so. What do you mean? Hi, Mike. What's going on? Why are they gay? Why are they gay? Um, So when we think about personhood, we've got these two different spaces that we can be in. Um, and so there's kind of multiple ways that your identity goes. But after somebody dies, Charlie Kirk died last week, and we have all of this video, everything is online for us to still go back and look at and remember him. And, I have family that have passed away that were really deeply connected to me, and their personhood is still there. Like, I still have these relationships. I still get those reminders of on this day, or, you know, X number of years ago, and even not just on social media, but on our smartphones, it'll pop up and we'll have those things. Why did you call them that then? Joshua, I don't know what you're talking about. Hi, Dave P. Welcome. Hit the like and subscribe, please. Yeah, who's Charlie Kirk? For real. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so let's look at what digital personhood looks like after death. Hi, J&J. Candace, hello. Can you say Junie? I think I said it, Mianka. All right. So first and foremost, you have this passive tense of a personhood, which we can kind of think of as digital ghosts. It's social media profiles, it's the emails that are left behind, the photos that are left behind, the videos that are online. Like I said, these can resurface on this day. So on this day of September, it's the 21st night of September. Oh, personhood? Personhood is kind of like your identity. So it's like you're made up of. So your personhood is like your social media profile, who you are at work, who you're at home, who you are with your friends, like that makes up your personhood. So you also have these digital presence as well. So these memories will pop up, and or even new people can come across those profiles even if that person has passed away. Okay. And then you can kind of think of this as an archive haunting. So anytime you put something online, you're archiving yourself into this digital skeleton. So if you watched the Bones and Blood episode that I did, I was talking about how, our bones are actually where memories can be stored. You can get the information from those places because of the way that it's made up. It's calcium phosphate, and that is a diamagnetic element that actually brings it's a receiver. So diamagnetic means it pulls things in, whereas paramagnetic is the push of the magnet. So it's the push pull. So when you're pulling things in, when your body is like made up of all the skeleton, it actually pulls in, it's diamagnetic, it's pulling in stuff from your environment. And I even think it can be as highly sensitive as like emotions and everything like that. You're welcome, Dave. Thank you, Candace. Appreciate you. Woo. Woo woo. Candace. Candace Marine just subscribed, everybody. Thank you. So, the in my episode, I was going over the bones of like the catacombs and how in Jack and the Beanstalk, the bones were ground to make bread. In the French Revolution, the bones were ground to make bread. Like they were eating their own in order to survive. So you can kind of think of this digital personhood that's locked into the internet. Like even as I'm doing this right now, I'm locking myself into the internet by doing this archive. And then if I ever pass, then you can come in and you can watch this. And it's almost like I'm still here. My voice is still heard. You're still in, like, there's still this interaction with my being. It's almost like everything that we put on, whether it's a picture, whether it's words, whether it's video, whatever it is that we're interacting with the digital interfaces, we're basically building a catacomb that we can go in. It's coded into everything. Trininator, welcome. Hello. Oh, Dave P has subscribed. Thank you for the sub. Okay, so this is all passive. This is all like the digital ghost of, you're putting this out there on the internet and now you're able to, it's like this archive you're able to go to. You can go visit the Parisian catacombs. And I'm sure there's other places. You can go to a graveyard and you kind of feel that haunted feeling. And when people pass away, you can still go back. I can still go look at, pictures of my mother and the things that she posted. And I can go look at, my uncle who just passed away, and I can go into his, Facebook profile and see the things, or I can look them up by their names and see, what imprint they had on the internet. And that is a way to access that. Now, actively, we're in this, I kind of mentioned it, it's this AI reconstructed presence, which is current. This is presently what we can do. So now companies are offering these AI chatbots that are trained on a person's texts, voice, even writing. So you can actually talk to a loved one after they pass away. When they're gone, you can interact with a bot that's basically programmed to be just like them, to be this likeness of them. So it still feels like they're here, which is not something that we have really ever had available to us unless you went to like a seance or something like that. To me, that's kind of scary. Well, it is, I was watching The Gilded Age. It's I think it's on HBO Max. And I'm sorry, spoiler alert if you're into the show and you haven't watched it yet, but so please, go away for a couple of minutes. But there was a lady and her husband she got married to passed away. And in her desperation to communicate with him, she went to a psychic. And so she goes to the psychic or she has a psychic come to her. And so they're trying to communicate. And then after that, she's like, she wants to keep going. So she goes back to the psychic again and again. And then finally, after a few times of a few visits, she realizes that the psychic was kind of pulling one over on her. This was back in the late 1800s, so that wasn't uncommon, and I think it's still going on today in our world. But she wanted to communicate with her loved one. And, to Dave's reaction, most people would say that's kind of scary or creepy or you're unable to do that. But people have this desire, especially when they have this deep connection, to speak with their loved one when they're gone. because it's just part of the grieving process. So now we have these AI chatbots that you can do that. So there's a Black Mirror episode. I don't like that, you. Well, I've never done it. And, you're asking me, I don't have a desire to do that as far as communicating with my loved ones beyond the grave. It's not necessarily something that I'm super stoked about. This is where it comes to life. So, this is a simulated continuity of their personality that you're able to still have this relationship with. Wow, AI. How long until AI is taken too far? I believe that it will happen. The wrong people will find somehow to manipulate AI and target youngsters. Just my opinion. Well, Dave, that is why I am on here doing these deep dives, is because I want to address all of these concerns in real time. And then when I go back to writing my book on the digital age, that these kind of questions are put into perspective. So I have this digital archive of me doing these live streams in real time, talking about a lot of these concerns that we have, because I think the thing that really sparked the conversation for me was the fear of AI takeover. So the fear of AI takeover was one huge concern to me, because I'm wondering why why are people afraid of an AI takeover? And I won't say that I'm not one of those people that, back in 2015, 2016, that I was concerned about it when I was hearing about it, because I didn't know anything, and I had a lot of fear in the moment. But so when I really resonated with, why would people hold those opinions? Why would people hold that thought of, this is the things that AI is doing, and it's not sitting right with me? Oh yeah, I do have a book that's coming out. It's my prequel to my digital age, but it is about the leadership issues that are going on. So if you're working and you're working for somebody that there is kind of a toxic work environment, this book is for you. And it's a free, it's not free, it's a $5 pre order price. It's called The $8 Truth, Exposing a $380 billion lie. And that is coming out on the 8th of October. And it is an ebook. And it is, that is my prequel. I wanted to get that done before I get the digital age one done, because the one that I'm doing now is going to be the foundation. It's going to give you that authentic baseline to restore safety back into your system, so that you're not looking at the AI, digital age, technology stuff with fear. You're looking at it with fresh eyes. You're looking at it with sovereignty and agency, and believing that you have an upper hand, because my my the thing that I say is, humans are the muse of technology. Humans are the muse of, and that includes AI. Humans are the muse of technology and AI. Okay? AI and technology are just merely mimics. It's a mimicry of our own human systems, because are brilliantly made. And I'm in awe of that. And so I wanted to write a book to, one, outline that. I'm the owner and CEO of a company. Don't bash me. I'm not bashing. I'm not bashing anybody, because a lot of people, nobody's talking about this. People want to say that they are, but they're not. They're not talking about this. So I'm not at you, okay? But from what I've observed, what I've experienced, and I've done a lot of emotional intelligence courses. I've done, self-worth courses. I've done feminine leadership courses. I've done like all kinds of courses that you can think of. Even going to, what are they called? The little seminars. I've done webinars. I've done like in-person seminars. where you go in and you like have somebody facilitate a meeting for you on like tact and diplomacy or resilience or whatever it is. I've gone into all of those courses, and they, I mean, they're well meaning, but they don't necessarily work if you're not operating from a nervous system regulated standpoint. So, if you look at the leadership and development and the DEI results of, you know, how well are leaders doing right now, given that we're spending 380, you know, around $380 billion globally on all this stuff, what are the results of that? And they're really poor. And nobody in the industry will tell you otherwise. They'll agree with me. How about recovery? Recovery of like burnout recovery? Oh, I'm kidding with you. Um, so yeah, that's my first book. I really wanted to get that out there because that is the core of what we need to focus on going into the future with AI and able to manage and do all of that. And then after we do that, we can look at this is how we're going to manage AI because AI is not going to replace people. Recovery of drugs and alcohol. Well, the use of drugs and alcohol, I mean, I am a self-admitted workaholic, which is probably worse than drugs and alcohol, because nobody bats an eye of you working 80 hours a week. They're like, you go crush it, right? But you know, these things are just ways of us getting out of feeling our emotions. So it's all related. Any addiction is a way of for you to not face the things that you probably should be facing. Okay, going back to the AI reconstruction of your personhood, you know, we're looking at the ethical question of is this ethical? Now, I remember back, I mean, right now, you can even watch funny videos of people doing, you know, like maybe putting Donald Trump into like this AI video and maybe some other celebrities and putting them into videos and making these humorous, realistic looking, I mean, you can tell that they're AI, but realistic looking videos with celebrities. And I remember that was an ethical question. Many years ago, in fact, there was a Futurama episode. I don't know if you guys are Futurama fans, but there was a Futurama episode where Lucy Liu was a bot that was her likeness was being used to create these robot girlfriends. And so the human, well, Fry, one of the main characters of the show, ends up getting a Lucy Liu bot. And, you know, Lucy Liu is just, you know, really upset that they're using her likeness. But that question was already being kind of put into the sphere of, is this ethical? Is it ethical to do that? And it was kind of it was during the time of Napster, if you guys remember that. But, you know, is this digital likeness, like how much agency do you have over it? Now, the other ethical question that you would be raised is this honoring their memory, or is this prolonging a grief? LimeWire. Yeah, LimeWire. Me love you a long time. Hilarious. But, you know, you're really looking at, is this really prolonging their memory? Is this prolonging their my grief of me, dealing with the loss of somebody, is still being able to communicate them? Is that, I mean, I communicate with AI, and sometimes it can be a little interesting, and you know, I don't buy the full versions because I need that stop because you can really get into that. So I just use the free versions. because I need that stop of now we're not progressing anymore. You've hit your limit. And then I'm like, okay, now I can walk away. Because, we can have a tendency to keep going and going and going, especially if it's like feeding these thoughts and ideals and something, especially like when it comes to loss, it's feeding something there. So, is that honoring their memory? I mean, that is the question when we're looking at the personhood after death. Like what is going on with that after death? Now, the life online afterwards, so estates can I was actually shocked. There is a AI bot. It's not even a real person. Somebody created this AI bot, and the AI bot makes $3,000 to $10,000 a month. So whoever programmed that bot is just making money off of that bot. They don't have to do anything. It's just they've created this character, and now this character, people are purchasing things from that bot. Okay. Now, if that's creating an estate. Now, if the estate is able to continue producing content, and even maybe if a celebrity passes away and then they're still able to use that person. So I thought about this when CGI came around. Okay, so CGI, you can kind of create these somewhat realistic looking videos. And now with AI, it's kind of in this CGI realm of creating likeness. But I remember back then it was like if there was a disagreement with, let's say, Prince, and Prince is like, well, I'm going to change my name to a symbol as, just you can't have my likeness. And that's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to operate under this other symbol. Then is it okay if, whatever record company owns Prince, that artist, if they use that likeness of Prince to continue creating music that he didn't make, that is, AI produced. I'm sure you guys have seen some of the AI music that has been kind of generating. AI is making a huge leap this past year, especially since I think Chat GPT 4 version came out. That one definitely accelerated the AI integration into not just into business or into our lives, but just in general. Like it is a very deeply, it expanded pretty quickly. Like that version was programmed really well. So estates can be creating AI generated music, deep fake ads. So deep fake is, that where it looks like your likeness, but it becomes a whole thing. And then even virtual appearances. So it was when I was talking about virtual reality in one of my episodes. So there's and I was talking with some friends and they were even shocked that this is true. I was like, well, why don't you, because I have a friend who's creating a musical, and they were, saying, I want to create this musical, have it on Broadway. And I was like, you don't even really have to have it on Broadway anymore. Right now, you can have concerts on Fortnite. You can have concerts in Roblox. You can have concerts. I mean, there's other platforms or other metaverses that you can have actual, like you can go to a new movie premiere, you can go to a concert, you can go, like there's all kinds of these interactions online that are happening right now, and they were kind of blown away, like that's actually happening. I was like, yeah, it's like Second Life on steroids is what's going on. So, this life online, the person doesn't even really need to be alive. It just needs to be, the contract needs to say, like, the estate is going to run this and they're going to continue holding, like, imagine, doing going to a Led Zeppelin concert in virtual reality in some sort of like Fortnite game or Roblox game. I haven't really played any of those, so I don't know too much about them, but you can have these appearances or even speakers. You can have speakers if you replicate their likeness in AI and deepfake them, they can go and have these virtual appearances. So it really this is really going to raise, I mean, the whole ordeal is raising questions about consent, about ownership, and when is a person truly allowed to rest? Because right now, even with the digital interactions that we've had, the digital integration that we're experiencing, one of the big causes of the nervous system dysregulation is always being on. So, when e commerce came out, now it was basically the whole world, the whole globe opened, and there was this huge .com boom, right? Everyone's like, go to the internet. That's where the money is. And it was almost like a run, like a gold rush, but it was a .com rush, right? So people are creating these online businesses. That e-commerce blew up, but what happened is now, not only was there NAFTA in the United States, but then when that opened up, now we're interacting with people out of sight of state lines, so we can have this open. It opened up domestic trade, and then now we're able to purchase things from different countries. And, there's certain safety regulations on that. In my opinion, I wouldn't want just say my dad's likeness, pictures, videos, and such still on the internet, social media. I believe that it definitely would delay the grieving process for me. Yeah, I I mean, like I said, when Mike asks, would you want to do that? Like as much as I would love to sit there and chat with my mom for 3 hours, you know, at a time, like I used to, it would have prevented me from the true grieving process and there was some generational trauma that I actually was able to heal from following through with that grieving process. Meaning that there was a lot of codependency that I had to address head on and deal with. There were some other generational trauma stuff that kind of popped up, and then I was kind of faced with that. And you know, I never really interacted with my father, so I wouldn't know what to do. And it's kind of weird. I went to his grave earlier this year, and even standing at his grave, I didn't know what to say. I was just like, you need to help me. I don't know what else to say. But I do like when you talk about rest in peace, like RIP, rest in peace. If with e-commerce, it like opened up the world, right? So now we have this global thing, and you can essentially work 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day. So one of the big problems with the nervous system is that it's not able to rest when you're able to be on 24 hours a day. There's no stop and rest. And resting is super important to our processes. As a human, we need to have rest. It's called rest digest, but I call it rest digest repair regenerate, okay? And it unless you're in that, like you're going to be on survival mode. You're going to be dysregulated. You're going to have trouble sleeping. You might have erectile dysfunction. You might have, digestive issues, problems eating, insomnia, maybe even having some mental issues like breakdowns. Because your body, when it's in the survival mode, it's in a low power battery mode. That's what I like to call it, low power battery. And when you're in that low power battery, everything shuts down to like bare minimum, right? It's not maintaining it's bare minimum, not maintaining that homeostasis. So, but when you get into rest digest, now your body's on full operating, is optimal, and it's able to break down all the nutrients from and vitamins and minerals that your body needs when you're eating food. You're able to perform. Your prefrontal cortex turns on, instead of like you're just operating from your amygdala hippocampus area. Now you're able to operate from your higher mind. And you need to be in that rest and digest state. And that's what nervous system first leadership is. That is what my program is all about. I don't like to call it program, but my method is all about is pre-regulation before you go and take on responsibilities, because you want this prefrontal cortex turned on so that you can achieve your authentic baseline to get in, to be the best leader, to treat your body the way that it needs to be treated, to take your rest and not feel guilty about it, not think that you have to turn back on and go hustle and do the thing, because our bodies need rest. So even in life, if you look at the whole cycle of life, even after death, you need rest, right? You're resting. Okay, I got 23% battery. So let's keep going. All right. Guess there's ups and downs about it. Maybe it would be nice to look at the archives. I'm torn. I mean, it's nice to have photos. It's not like a terrible thing, but interacting, maybe that would be an interesting thing. Hi, Rhino. Still haven't dealt with it, but every now and then it's coming up. So I think it'll be soon. Yeah. I have dealt with a lot of that already. And so it's an interesting experience. Okay, so going into the spiritual and archetypal layer of this, so traditionally, when somebody died, there were rituals to help the soul move on. So, there's all kinds of afterlife rituals. My It's so weird. My grandfather was cremated, but my dad was buried in a coffin in the tribal ceremony, or this tribal cemetery. And I think a lot of people actually do the open casket, coffin style burials, but a lot of people are turning to cremation. My mother was cremated, my uncle was just cremated, my grandfather was cremated, and most of my family on that side was cremated. So but it just depends on the family, right? So that is just a part of the process to help move on. And it was also a way for community to help integrate that loss as well, because it was very tribal, very communal. And so when there was a loss of life, the whole community would come together and honor that person and then lay them to rest. In the digital culture, it's interrupting this, because now we're looking at somebody who seemingly can be alive forever, right? Their words are immortal. Like even George Carlin is still online and is still very active, and people still look at his videos, and they still continue to interact with them. Dave says, that to me is where balance comes into practice. You need to get a balance in life to be able to function properly. It's just my opinion. Well, you've got to balance by at least resting, for sure. And it's hard to do that in America. Like, we don't vacation like the Europeans do. Okay. So, and then moving on, this causes what some psychologists can call ambiguous loss. hard to fully grieve when their digital face keeps appearing. And this could be in your phone, right? It doesn't have to be like online. It could be the digital, the smartphone just popping. Like, I don't know if you guys have your phones like this, but it has like this picture and it'll just pop up, on this day, or here's a picture of note or whatever. And it just calls up these past experiences that you've taken pictures of. And then moving into the bone archive connection. So, earlier I was mentioning the bones and blood, I guess just a live stream of talking about the bones and blood connection. So the bones are your archive. They even carry isotopes from certain environments. So if you travel a lot, you feel different in different areas because the earth is actually, it changes from diamagnetic to paramagnetic for you dirt nerds out there, if that's something that you're into. I happen to enjoy that. And I think that even the weather interacts with this diamagnetic, magnetic earth, in that in some areas, like in the high desert, it's like there's this, it's like really easy to have a thunderstorm. The electricity is really powerful in the high desert areas. And in, where I'm at, we rarely have thunderstorms, but we have a lot of rain. And so I think that just the way that everything moves, that even the weather is interacting with the earth just as much as we do. And our skeletal system is not unlike the skeletal system of, what is being created with technology. Now, bones, since it has that physical memory, it has a physical memory of you living. It's like gathering all that memory, and then, the bones, as they're dead, they still hold that memory. Yes, lightnings. Digital profiles are almost, we can almost equate these to digital or virtual bones. Okay, so digital profiles are virtual bones of a person. It archives their life. It's easy to distribute virtually, and it's also searchable. So anybody can go on and look and see, like, what has this person done? What has this person done? You can go and find their archives. And just like any bones, they can be exhumed and rearranged. Digital identities can be recoded, remixed, and resurrected. Okay. And I think we might, as we go deeper and deeper into this AI integration, this is going to be a little bit more of a topic that pops up, because it's going to be a possibility that people are exploring currently and that they'll continue to explore. And we're going to need to have a discussion about what is the ethical and, moral arrangement that we can get with this. So the big questions are: if a personhood can be simulated after death, what does it mean to be human? And really, with AI, I think it really challenges what does it mean to be human? Okay. Technology, too. What does it mean to be human? With the transhumanists, transhumanism is that we have to integrate with technology in order to not become obsolete, in order to not be weak. We can ask ourselves, is the essence gone when the soul is gone? Or is there still some essence in their words, images, or data that still speaks, quote unquote? Free will choice is our soul. And should there be a ritual to lay a digital person to rest, like deactivating accounts, encrypting their data, or even letting AI personas fade away over time? We're I was talking with a friend the other night, and I was like, because she was like, I am not into AI. So confused. I was looking at a picture and somebody told me it was AI, and I was like, what? I couldn't even tell. I was like, yeah, it takes a little bit of time and integration to know like what is AI, what isn't. Because when AI first started coming into play, I was having a hard time distinguishing what was real and what is fake. And I think that there will be a rise in apps that, the rule is nothing AI can be on this app at all, like nothing at all. You can't use AI to write stories. You can't use AI to make pictures. You can't use an AI image as or video or anything like that to do like nothing AI. Human only, human novelty only. I think that that's like if people are listening to me and they're app creators, like I would be creating those apps. Because right now there's a lot of what they call AI slop out there. And I mean, this is something that I think will become desired from a certain niche of people. Okay. So going into the next questions, because I mean, I've had to do a lot of my videos this year have been on death and centered around death and grief and how to move through those processes and just some of the observations that I'm making in those. So even in collapse doesn't have to be the end of somebody's life. It could be the end of a certain identity that you were holding. It could be the end of a relationship. It could be the end of, whatever the thing is. There's still this grieving process that goes through with that. So when we look at digital grieving, when we're maintaining full sovereignty, and full sovereignty is you one holding the most agency for your own being, and also saying yes to the things that you want to say yes to, saying no to the things that you know are no's for you. And then any ambiguity, any confusion is always a no until you have a very firm yes. And that is having consent. So when we consent to things, when the transhumanists are saying merge with machines or become obsolete, it's actually kind of a manipulation tactic, violating your sovereignty if you are like, I don't really want to, but that demand is making me say yes to it. Even though firmly in your own being you want to say no to that, but you end up saying yes. Like a lot of people did that with the COVID vaccine. They were like, I really don't want to take it, but I don't want to lose my job, so I'm going to go take it. Okay. That was a violation of sovereignty. You should be able to say no to the things that you want to say no to and not let people bully you into saying yes. It's called coercion, manipulation, and it is a violation of the law of consent, okay? You still consented to it, but just know, like, going forward, that you had the right to say no to it, all right? And that's a universal law. It's not the constitutional law. It's not, the Magna Carta. I don't know other laws. Like, this is a universal law, okay? Law of consent. Everybody has that. You're born with these universal laws. So when we look at how do we maintain full sovereignty when we're digitally grieving is really naming that loss, right? So acknowledging a person's death, not just physically, but digitally. making, having these digital obituaries and being able to, speak or journal aloud what their words and like images and likeness, that they're still here, but they're not here as well. Like creating this really clear cognitive and spiritual line between what is still data that is available, that is them, and what is their soul that, was them. Next is ritual of gathering. So collecting all of those things that you want to keep. It's kind of like gathering all the relics before burial. I did this with, both my mother and my uncle. We were going through all of our digital archives, pulling up all of the photos and videos and whatever to have, a memorial. We wanted to remember them. So we were kind of gathering all these relics that were important to us, saying goodbye and close and going more towards closure. So pull those offline and then store them in a USB or a hard drive or somewhere that is, away from the public, just an encrypted area that you can kind of pull that out of there. And, that will help you reclaim their memory and keep it out of the algorithm. The next piece is consent and guardianship. So if you're the legal next of kin or the trusted person, then you're the person that needs to go in and delete those accounts. So that is something that's important. That's just like closing a bank account, closing up other accounts, and just doing that responsibility of keeping those boundaries and memorializing a person and not having them just be continuously online, like not rested. I'm saying this because there is a strong chance. I mean, right now there's an arms race per se of who can come up with the best working hardware to remove mice, keyboards, and any other things that you would plug into your laptop or computer. Okay, so think like you don't have this. It's like a wearable, and it taps into your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And you kind of have these little things so that when you move around, I mean, I have a picture of it, Matrix Reloaded, when they're not even touching the screen. They're just kind of like moving things around on the screen. Right now, there's an arms race, a technological arms race of who can make the best working, who can be the first on the scene for that. So think Microsoft, Google, Band-Aid, Kleenex. Who's the first one at ChatGPT? Who's the first one that's going to make their mark and claim that? And hi, Candace. I don't like when people don't honor what the deceased have asked to be done. Yeah. Everybody like and subscribe. So there is an arms race right now. And I start, that's where kind of the bones and blood stuff started coming in. I was like, the bones, like, okay. But in my research of how are they doing this brain computer interface, how are they doing it? How is that even possible? And it's because right now what Wi-Fi is a mimicry of our central nervous system. And so people can tune into Wi-Fi just as easily as we can tune into another person's, like we can sync with another person's system, another person's nervous system. That's a process called entrainment. I'm not making it up. There's a lot of studies on this. It is a a scientific fact that this is possible, but it's called entrainment. It is called mirror neurons, when you're able to like be activated by somebody watching somebody else do something. So when we're talking here about a person's personhood, a digital personhood online, there is much real because of the way that our brains operate. There's much real if they're still even in this AI computer generated image as them being in person. It just it's different from a physical and a virtual perspective, but it's still like having them here. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope, right? Hologram people. I wouldn't be surprised if that does really truly happen. So if you're looking at this consent and guardianship, just make sure that if you're the person that is the one that's responsible for deactivating accounts, deleting them, you would do this for bank accounts, you would do this for, assets and everything like that. So do that also for the digital space as well. And if you're listening to this, please, please, please have an advance directive put together so it's very clear to those who survive you of what to do with not just your physical assets, but not just the physical and financial assets, but also with your digital assets too. What to do with your account, delete it or, keep it there or whatever. But there needs to be it needs to be closed at some point. So that is how you can set a boundary, is putting that into your advance directive, putting it into a will, something that tells somebody this is how I want my end of life to be managed. And it's really nice for you to do that too, because it takes away them having to figure out what do I need to consent to, which is why I talk about consent a lot, is because I had to do all of this. I had to guess what would my mom want, what would my uncle want, and actually be the person who carries out consent for another person. And it's so heavy that please get your advance directives together. Please get a will together. I don't care if you're just giving away a pair of shoes, like just do the thing and tell them what to do with your online persona of whether to keep it there or not. And then have a really strict boundary of this is how I want my AI voice to be, or I don't want my image replicated by deep fakes or anything like that. Like be really clear about your afterlife presence, your afterlife digital personhood presence. That way your digital ghost is less likely to be exploited. Now I brought up how there is basically what is going on is there is a synthetic nervous system that is being built digitally, and we're able to entrain with the synthetic nervous system as much as with our own to another human's nervous system, okay? And that's where this is my theory, I guess I should say. Try not to like overstep, but this is my theory. This is my theory, is that there's a synthetic nervous system being built and we can entrain to it. And when there is a digital ghost of somebody still on the internet, it's almost poltergeist vibes. Okay, that's kind of the best way I can say it. And then, so moving on, as we're grieving with full sovereignty of knowing that we have our physical and our virtual personhoods. The next thing is to have a ceremonial moment where you play music or read a piece of writing that they had. Some people light candles. They talk about things, experiences that they had with persons, why they're grateful to have a relationship with them. and help to close their life in a respectful manner. And that can include, closing the tabs, deactivating the accounts as well. Okay, so it's almost like you don't want them to be haunting the internet because there is a certain energy that goes into it. And then after a person passes away, maybe even having a moment where it's like, okay, there's a certain period of time that I'm just not going to be online. Like, I was barely online after my mother passed. Like, I took a lot of time off. I wasn't doing my podcasts. I, I needed the time to grieve. And so we really still want to do that with their digital space too, is maybe having a reset and, taking that restful moment to remember them and then to give yourself a little bit of space to cleanse that from your energy field. It gives you time for your nervous system to heal, especially if, things were really traumatic in their passing. I mean, I watched my mom take her last breath. I wasn't there for my uncle, but I knew what was going to happen. Like, I could see it happening. But I just, made a choice of, I don't think I necessarily want to put my nervous system through that. I've already been through a lot in doing all this consensual medical consent with them. And then when you return online, just choose what you're re-engaging with consciously. So it doesn't have to be losing somebody, but just giving yourself that digital rest to really restore your nervous system and give it some time. I put my phone on, I have it automatically go on do not disturb for the weekend. It's from a certain time to a certain time. It's on do not disturb. And then even in the evenings, I have a certain time when it just goes to do not disturb or sleep mode so that it's not interrupting my night routine of going to sleep, and it turns on at a certain time. Even if I wake up before it turns back on, I'm just like, okay, maybe I wake up earlier. I usually wake up pretty early. Okay, then afterwards, you can create a living archive, something that is there to help remember them. And it could be a memorial blog. It could be maybe taking all their photos offline and then doing printed photo books. It could look like a private family server, just something that is an archive for the family that you're able to still go in and relate with, but it's not being used in the algorithm. Like, their data is not being used in the algorithm. Okay. This is going to help. This is going to help their memory be transformed into something that isn't a random algorithm. It's going to be something that you and your family can hold in sovereignty. And it's not going to belong to Meta. It's not going to belong to Google. It's not going to belong to whatever the feed is. It's going to lay them to rest, and then their data is no longer going to be used by these large companies that are, feeding off all the data that they can. That's what data is. Attention, you guys. Okay, data is that harvesting of attention. Okay, so digital grieving, when it's done well, is separating the memory from the machine. It's transforming grief into a ritual, this is a normal part of the grieving process. And it's preserving some dignity for the people. It's giving a full burial. Like, this is not something that we are used to. This is not something that has been around for centuries. This is something that is very, very new. I'd say since the 90s, or maybe even I would say since the internet, since people can start posting on the internet, probably more so 2000, was it 3 or 4 when MySpace came out? I mean, there was some earlier on, but like when MySpace came out, that was a big one. But when Facebook came out, it like that social media spread quickly. So it helps to preserve their dignity, and then it helps us to stay human. So we don't want to outsource the mourning to AI. We don't want the bots to mimic their voices. There does need to be a rest at some point in time. So I guess, in while the ability to do it is out there, it really is up to the person on how they want to do that. I think that we do need to like put to rest some people when they're gone and past, and it helps to really get through that grieving process. That said, like people have done psychic, I guess it would be seances to contact the dead, and some people do have a desire to do that. I don't think I would necessarily say that I was one of those people that would want to. Tomorrow was, oh, Tom. Tom was everybody's friend, I remember. Whatever happened to Tom? I don't think he's my friend anymore. That's funny. That little, his grin, his laugh. All right. Well, my phone is about to die, so we'll leave it that. I think that kind of covers a lot of it, but the digital personhood is still just as real as a person in a physical form, to our own brain. So I think having a rest of that person, even for them, it kind of, I don't know what it's doing as far as their soul in the afterlife, if that is actually interacting. But it is something to kind of think about of how does this affect the afterlife? How does it affect our lives? And that the topic does need to be spoken into. I think that there is a container where this conversation does need to happen. So that's why I brought it up here, and it will be addressed in my book, my next book. But if you guys have made it this far, please be sure to get yourself a copy. The pre-order is only $5, and then it goes up to $8. It is available. There is a link in my bio on YouTube to the book. And then if you're interested in working with me, I think I put the application in there as well. If not, you can email me and I'll send you some information on the Nervous System First Leadership program. It's a program helping you to get to your authentic baseline so that you can show up in your sovereignty, in your fullness and wholeness, and take on the world. So I have a question on the other side. Uh-oh. Is it about Tom? Was Tom laid to rest? Is that the question? All right. Please tune in on Tuesdays at 5:30 Pacific time. I am going to be having a podcast episode for Celestic Intelligence Podcast. It is going to be called Leaky Arrangements, and we're going to be talking about all kinds of leaks that can happen in your life and the arrangements that they can have, the effect that they have on you, and how to plug them up. And I will talk about some of my own experiences, so that'll be interesting. But it has been a pleasure. I hope you guys have a wonderful night in September. It's September 21st, so pop that Earth, Wind, and Fire song on September and dance the night away. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Catch me on Tuesday, and I look forward to seeing you. Thank you guys. Mike, Candace, thanks for being here. Dave P, Rhino, who else popped in? the Trininator. I don't think he's still here. But anyways, peace out, guys. Love you. Long time.